Hi, my name is Micheal Sung, and I'm the co-director of the Fudan Fenghai FinTech Research Center. We're based in Shanghai, and we're looking at a lot of the blockchain, fintech, and digital finance innovation in China. And today, I would like to talk about the blockchain-based service network, the BSN, which is China's most high-profile blockchain initiative in the country. The BSN really is a cross-chain, cross-cloud, cross-framework interoperability environment, right? And so what it basically does is it kind of connects all of the different blockchain ecosystems together. So when we're talking about the new blockchain internet, right, we have a huge balkanized variety of blockchains, right? Within China, Ant Financial has their own Ant chain. Ping An has their own Ping An chain. Baidu has their own super chain. And these blockchains don't talk to each other. We're at a moment in time where there's not a very good interoperability framework to be able to translate data or eventually digital assets between these different chains. And so therefore, BSN becomes this infrastructure of infrastructures that allow you to share data in a trusted way between these blockchain frameworks. Right? On top also is other types of frameworks. So for example, smart contract frameworks, right? Other types of data sharing frameworks, data management frameworks. And this is all sitting on top of cloud computing. Modern day internet's, digital commerce and sort of the new digital economy is all built on cloud computing. And right now, if you need to actually build your own blockchain service, for example, it would take a lot of work. It would take a huge engineering team to be able to do that, right? The same way that in the original internet, before things got very convenient, you had to have a whole engineering team to develop your own data center, to develop your own e-commerce stack. These days, you have companies like Shopify, which click a couple of buttons, you can actually provision all the resources and then focus just on the business logic. So that's exactly what BSN intends to be. It intends to be this unifying framework that allows any company, whether it's a large Fortune 500 down to a small SME, to be able to provision their cloud resources, to link to the blockchains that they're interested in doing, create the nodes that they want in different parts of the world, and then allow interoperability so that everything is just basically seamless, right? So in China is essentially the only country in the world that is deploying smart cities infrastructure at scale across the country. Post-COVID, they are developing a new infrastructure stimulus to develop digital economy infrastructure. So this is a major initiative. Now, the initiative BSN is founded by 4 partners. It's the State Information Center, which is the top regulatory body looking at IT strategy for the country. China Mobile, which is the large telecom operator with all the data centers leveraging their existing footprint in the digital economy. China UnionPay, which is the largest payment processor in the world, building the fintech stack on top. And a 4th company called Red Date Technology, which is creating the basic infrastructure for the whole thing, the architecture, the deployment of this infrastructure. And the key aspect here is developing these portals, right? So you have a portal where any customer can go into and provision the cloud computing resources, or to deploy a DApp or a blockchain service, or to utilize the blockchain DApp or service. And all of this infrastructure is actually being managed and maintained by Red Date Technology. So these 4 partners have come together to create this unifying framework. And since it's been launched on April 25th of 2020, it has credibly become one of the largest, if not the largest, enterprise blockchain ecosystems in the world. Certainly the fastest growing. It's been scaled to over 100 cities in China already. And also will be forming the backbone of the digital Silk Road internationally to connect all of China and China's trade partners and companies to the rest of the world in this unifying framework. So I think it's a very, very exciting thing. I think China is credibly catalyzing enterprise blockchain adoption all around the world, starting first with China, because China is adopting it on the mainland quite massively. But because China is also the largest trade partner for most of the world, when this interoperability framework goes into different countries and simplifies the ability for people to do cross-border payments and trade finance and supply chain logistics and just in general trade, this will be a very powerful catalyst force to bring this to the rest of the world. So I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Michael. So you said something about the geographical scope of BSN, but we would like to know how do you plan to go global? You said that BSN aim to be a global solution and not only for the Chinese market, even if it's starting from there, but how do you plan to go global?
Well, so as I mentioned to you, the BSN is meant to be an interoperability framework. And so there are a lot of, internationally, a lot of what we call permissionless public chains, right? And so as an interoperability framework, your focus is to connect to any and all public and private chain infrastructures that are actually, reasonable, right? So because of this, BSN becomes a very important hub, okay, to connect the international world, this public permissionless blockchain world, to what's happening in China. As you know, in China, there is a restriction on the use of public chains. There's a restriction on unregulated digital assets. Tokens, this kind of thing. So therefore, the BSN becomes this very important hub to modulate the activity of what's happening internationally into the China ecosystem. And BSN has a new initiative called the Open Permission Framework. Okay, so basically what that is allowing an international blockchain, permissionless blockchain like Ethereum, like Tezos, we have integrated into a dozen different blockchains already, and we can actually create the permission version of those public chains on BSN nodes that that can be a little bit better regulated, and therefore we have a method to actually convert a public permissionless blockchain into a permission version that can be compliant and operate with full freedom on the mainland. Okay, so actually it's a very unique strategy, and so we are now working to connect these two ecosystems together to create a global interoperability network, and I think that is very, very exciting.
Nice, really nice. We know that BSN is not focused on the development of use case, but it's actually building a general multi-protocol framework. What is the purpose of this strategy?
The strategy to be the interoperability? Well, so basically it's like this, the BSN is meant to be basic infrastructure, okay? The same way that, say, TCP and the network infrastructure that helps support the digital economy and the general first internet use case, right? So as infrastructure, it needs to be completely unbiased, and it doesn't really want to vertically integrate, because if you vertically integrate into specific use cases, then actually you end up becoming a competitor to your customers and to other people who want to use the system. So in order to remain unbiased and in order to really focus on doing what it does well, which is the interoperability part, it is just focused on just the infrastructure layer to provide interoperability and eventually to provide all the other managed services, right, to provision cloud compute resources, to be able to do data management, to be able to do allow well-reasoned, compliant digital asset transfers across different blockchains. That is really the singular focus, to do that well, and then leave the use cases to third-party developers, right, through the use of APIs that BSN will provide to the ecosystem.
Thanks for this brief explanation. And just one last question. What are the next steps of BSN? What are you actually working on, and what are you focused most on? Do you plan to work on payment network or something similar?
Well, if you hear what the founder of Red Date, who again is the main architect for the BSN, Yifan He has discussed, I think he's recently in different forums indicated that one of the first moving use cases that could exist on top of BSN in a powerful way would be payments, right? And it makes a lot of sense because right now, again, you have a balkanized state of affairs worldwide. You have a variety of payment networks. Now you have a lot of central banks looking at digital currencies, and they're all implementing on different blockchains, right? On Corda, the early guys were using Ethereum, new guys are using Tezos or Algorand or Stellar. And again, these blockchains don't talk to each other. So therefore, at some point, in order for payments to be useful is that you have the ability to cross networks and to transact across different regions, right? And so BSN becomes a very convenient framework to allow that interoperability to occur. So I think there is a plan to be able to provide that interconnectivity to payments, but then go well beyond that. I mean, things like supply chain management, logistics, trade finance, issuance of digital securities. There's quite a few different use cases that we are sitting at a very unique period in the history of development, right? We had the digitization of information in the first internet revolution, and now we're on the brink of being able to digitize anything of value. Okay, so that means that all the digital assets that can be tied to real world assets like real estate and fine arts and stocks and bonds and derivatives and commodities, or anything virtual like crypto art and we have all sorts of completely virtualized assets can now all be transacted in a very trusted way with full interoperability and fungibility across different ecosystems, and that's going to really move and change the world. And BSN hopes to be that basic infrastructure to allow that to happen.
Thank you again, Michael. Just one last question, sorry, again. How does it plan, and does it plan to interact with the Digital One project from China? The BSN is going to interact with the Digital One project at any point in the future, or these are two totally different projects and they are not going to interact?
Well, China is, I think, holds the strategy for the digital RMB very close to its chest, right? The main focus that's been released has been purely a internal mainland focus, right? So right now, if you hear the People's Bank of China talk about it, they're looking to release commercially the digital RMB sometime before the Olympics in 2022. That's all we know officially, right? But we can speculate and say that the Chinese government eventually, of course, would like to promote the RMB in general, to internationalize the RMB as a reserve currency internationally. And the digital version of that would be one way that it would be allowed to do so. So right now, there isn't a connection between these projects, but if and when the Chinese government wants to internationalize the digital RMB, then the BSN would be an appropriate infrastructure for it to sit upon. So right now, it remains to be seen how things evolve. There isn't any definitive plans at the moment. Okay, well, I think thank you very much for having me here. It's been a pleasure and an honor. I think it's very important for us to think about how to be more connected globally. And I think in the ethos of trust and collaboration, which blockchain engenders, there's a hope to connect the world more meaningfully. And in that, we can develop more trusted collaborations and trade to make the world more prosperous. So I very much appreciate this connection to the Italian ecosystem, and hope that we can develop more collaborations in the future. Thank you very much.